Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Είμαστε έξω από το Βρετανικό Μουσείο σήμερα, Σάββατο, 18 Ιουνίου. Είμαστε εδώ πέρα για να φωνάξουμε να γυρίσουν τα γλυπτά του Παρθενώνα πίσω στην Ελλάδα, εκεί που πρέπει να είναι. Και έχουμε μαζί μας έναν από τα μέλη του British Committee for the Returns of Marbles, correct? George?
That's the one. Hello, lovely to meet you today. Thank you so much for coming down. Today's a really important day. It's 13 years since the Acropolis Museum was open. For a long time, the marbles have been here in West London. The argument has been that they can't go back to Greece because there's nowhere to keep them safe. We know that's a bad argument. It's been a bad argument from the start. The marbles were taken unjustly from Greece over 200 years ago to decorate Lord Elgin's house. It was wrong then, it's wrong now, and particularly when the Acropolis Museum has been open for 13 years, it's far past time that these were returned to Greece.
So what are the actions now that the committee is taking?
So the committee's organised today's protest. We've also written to all the funders and foundations that support the British Museum to say that the keeping of the Parthenon sculptures when the Acropolis Museum is open, the continued refusal to engage in serious discussions reflects very badly on the museum, and it also reflects badly on the museum's supporters, the financial backers, the donors who support this amazing institution. So we've contacted the donors, we've organised today's demonstration, we've been researching what the visitor numbers here are, because the museum has always argued that more people see the sculptures in England than they would in Greece. So we've had a research team in, and they have found exclusively that a very small proportion of all the visitors who walk in that door even go to see the marbles, whereas every single visitor who walks into the Acropolis Museum is there to experience the marbles next to where they were first created. So we want to see them returned, we want to see them returned now.
And George, what are we expecting from today's demonstration as well?
Well, today we have a fantastic turnout, both Greeks and British people, and it's wonderful to be bringing both communities together to call for their return. And here, we're just about trying to light a spark. You know, we know there's a lot of conversation at the moment about the return of the sculptures, and we want to make sure that the trustees' front of mind is the reality that there are people in the very building that they serve calling for the return of the sculptures. So today is about building momentum. We're going to be continuing the campaign throughout the summer, and we expect to see progress.
Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Coming today for the protest to call for the reunification of Parthenon sculptures. My name is George Gabriel, Yorgos Gabriel. I'm half Greek. Sadly, the only Greek I've got so far to date is Pagoto Parakalo. I learned at a young age I should say Koutopoulo Sketo, not Koutopoulo Scato. That was like a very serious restaurant problem, but honestly it's wonderful to be with you all today. I grew up hearing a very specific story about the Parthenon sculptures. I was told that the reason why they were in Britain was because the Greeks couldn't care for their own cultural heritage. Total bullshit. The marbles were taken over 200 years ago from Greece by Lord Elgin, who at the time was the ambassador to the Ottoman Empire on behalf of the British Empire. He massively abused his position as ambassador and overstepped the permission he was given to take a few stones from the ground around the Parthenon and bring them back to the UK. He brought back hundreds of pieces of the single greatest monument of classic antiquity to decorate his house. That was why they were brought to this country to begin with. Now we're here today of all days because 13 years ago the Acropolis Museum opened at the foot of the Parthenon in Athens. The rightful home of the sculptures that are currently kept in a gallery that's dark, that's wet, that has leaks in the ceiling, where they've been kept for years on years on years. 40 years ago, the guy who the gallery is named for asked people to scrub the marbles because he wanted them to be whiter, even though they were painted when they were initially on the side of the Acropolis. So this is just like a long story of how the marbles were taken wrongly, cared for badly, and should be returned. So that's why we're here today. I'm really grateful to all of you showing up. It is amazing to have members of both the Greek and the British community together calling for the same thing. So thank you all for coming. We're going to hear from a couple of very special people, a couple of representatives of the British Committee for the Return of the Parthenon Sculptures, and a couple of leaders of the Greek community too. So to start and welcome us off, Agustino, you're up.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ που σήμερα εκπέμψτε του British Committee που ήρθατε εδώ. Τέτοια acts και τέτοια demonstrations τα τελευταία χρόνια δεν μάζευαν τόσο πολύ κόσμο και είναι απίστευτο το πώς όλοι μαζί οι Έλληνες μαζευτήκαμε εδώ. Το σημερινό event συμπίπτει με τα 13 χρόνια της ίδρυσης του Μουσείου της Ελλάδας. Δεν υπάρχει δικαιολογία πια από το Βρετανικό Μουσείο ότι δεν έχουμε τον χώρο να κρατήσουμε τα γλυπτά του Παρθενώνα στην Ελλάδα, πρέπει να γυρίσουν όλα πίσω. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ εκ μέρους του British Committee που ήρθατε εδώ στο Βρετανικό Μουσείο. Όπως είπαμε, 13 χρόνια από την ίδρυση του Μουσείου της Ακρόπολης. Δεν υπάρχει δικαιολογία πια που λένε οι Βρετανοί ότι πρέπει να μείνουμε τα μάρμαρα εδώ γιατί δεν έχουμε τον χώρο και το infrastructure να γυρίσουν στην Ελλάδα. Είμαστε εδώ για να πούμε ότι πρέπει να γυρίσουν τα γλυπτά του Παρθενώνα στην Ελλάδα και είναι σημαντικό όταν είμαστε ενωμένοι για ένα κοινό σκοπό τι μπορούμε να πετύχουμε. Ευχαριστώ πολύ και τώρα θα μιλήσουν μέλη από την Επιτροπή.
Also very pleased that we have Marlin here, who is the understated heart and soul of the British Committee for the Reunification of Parthenon Workers. She may be little, but she's mighty. Marlin, say France.
Okay, firstly apologies that Janet and Paul aren't here. Where's Edith? Has anybody seen
Dimitri?
Edith? Edith, come on. We're going to do this as a twosome. I know that will turn some people off. Won't it, Edith? I don't know. Here we are, twosome. Edith Hall is a very, very brilliant professor. And she was on ITV only last week. And basically, we've been chanting the same song for what is forever. But guess what? The British Museum hasn't realised that there aren't two stories to be told about the Parthenon sculptures. There's just a new chapter, and the new chapter is in the Acropolis Museum.
Exactly. They have two arguments, neither of which works. One is that they are a world museum and have a duty to show them. How imperialist does that sound to the modern young generation? I mean, it just doesn't work anymore. Actually, India got independence in 1947, excuse me, and secondly, the floodgates argument is completely ridiculous. You only go back when there's a decent home for them. The Acropolis Museum is 5 times, a million times better than here for them. It's a no-brainer, and I actually believe that in my lifetime it's going to happen. What a party that will be, yeah?
A little bit, we're going to split up into groups, so we're going to head through to the galleries, look at the marbles, and just remind ourselves why we're here and what we think should be returned. There's a lot of people who've never come to an action like this before who are with us today. So what I wanted to do was, we've each got our reasons for caring about this issue. For me, I care about it because of my dad, and I care about it because of the story I grew up hearing about why they're here. Each of you have your own reason why this issue matters to you and why you care. So what I wanted to do was ask you to turn someone you do not know, someone you haven't met before who's here, introduce yourself and tell them, why do you think the Parthenon sculptures should be returned? Why does it matter to you? And why do you care? We're going to have a couple of minutes, so find someone you don't know, shake their hand, because it's going to take a while for us to get these back.
Καλημέρα, όπως λέμε στα ελληνικά. Μπορείς να μας πεις, Βικτόρια, γιατί είμαστε εδώ σήμερα?
Σήμερα συγκεκριμένα είμαστε εδώ γιατί είναι η γενεθλία του Μουσείου της Ακρόπολης. Έχει κλείνει 13 χρόνια. Λοιπόν, συγχαρητήρια στο Μουσείο στην Αθήνα. Και όλοι εδώ, είμαστε εδώ, σκέφτομαι για αυτή την κατάσταση όχι μόνο μία φορά κάθε χρόνο, αλλά συνέχεια, κάθε μέρα.
Μπορούμε να πούμε λοιπόν ότι τα γενέθλια του Μουσείου της Ακρόπολης ήταν η αφορμή για να έρθουμε εδώ.
Είναι η αφορμή, αλλά συνέχεια μιλάμε για την κατάσταση με τα γλυπτά που είναι στο Duveen Gallery, γιατί είναι παράνομα που είναι εκεί.
Μ' αρέσει που μιλάς για τα γλυπτά του Παρθενώνα και όχι για τα μάρμαρα ή τα μάρμαρα του Έλγιν, όπως λένε οι περισσότεροι Βρετανοί. Είναι πολύ καλό αυτό.
Ναι, για μένα το όνομα του Έλγιν είναι μια λέξη που δεν θέλω να πω.
Είναι τα γλυπτά του Παρθενώνα, δεν ήταν τα Ελγίνια μάρμαρα. Ο Έλγιν ήταν αυτός που τα πήρε.
Ναι, ο Έλγιν ήταν κλεφτής, γιατί πολλοί άνθρωποι πιστεύουν και σκέφτονται ότι ο Έλγιν έχει πληρώσει για τα μάρμαρα και που είχε άδεια και δεν είχε το φέρμιν. Η λέξη έχει ένα φέρμιν. Δεν υπάρχει. Ήταν όχι κάτι με ένα, how do you say, stamp, σφραγίδα από το Σάλτον στην Κωνσταντινούπολη. Ήταν μόνο ένα γράμμι από κάποιο άλλο που έχει στο μουσείο, είναι στην αρχήβα, μόνο μια μετάφραση του γράμμα. Και δεν είχε άδεια να πάρουν με βία. Ήταν όλοι ένα μυθιστόρημα που πολλοί άνθρωποι σκέφτονται. Αλλά είναι ψέμα και η αλήθεια είναι ότι πήραν τα γλυπτά με πολλή βία, έδωσε χρήματα στους φυλακές και τα λοιπά και δεν ήταν για το μουσείο, ήταν για τον εαυτό του.
Ναι.
Γιατί...
Έτσι έγινε famous κιόλας και τον ξέρουν όλοι αυτή τη στιγμή.
Ήθελαν τα μάρμαρα για το καινούριο σπίτι του. Γιατί ήθελαν κάτι πολύ εντυπωσιακό για το καινούριο σπίτι. Αλλά όχι δυστυχώς, μήπως ευτυχώς, δεν ξέρω, έπρεπε να πουλήσει τα γλυπτά στο μουσείο.
Γι' αυτό λοιπόν είμαστε εδώ σήμερα,
ναι,
για να ζητήσουμε να γίνει η επανένωση, η επιστροφή.
Η επιστροφή,
των μαρμάρων στον τόπο που γεννήθηκαν.
Ναι, σωστό. Να έχει το ήλιο στην Ελλάδα, όχι το γκρι ουρανό του Λονδίνου.
Για να συνεχίσουμε και κάποια άλλη στιγμή πάλι την συνέντευξη, αλλά μπορούμε να την κάνουμε και στο στούντιο του Hellenic TV την επόμενη φορά. Εντάξει, ευχαριστούμε πολύ, να είσαι καλά.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
But a massive thank you for coming, for your time. Onwards and upwards.
Fabiana, tell us, why are you here today?
Today,
Yeah.
I'm a student of history. I'm currently taking a class at Kane University in New Jersey. It's Greek civilization, and I came to see what Americans, the whole world, call the Elgin marbles, but they're the Parthenon marbles. They're Greek. And I came to see them myself, and I saw you guys today, and I was super emotional seeing them, you requesting them to go back home where they belong. So it was absolutely beautiful. One, to see them, but also to see that they're dimmed here. This is not where they belong. They're missing their light and their beauty, because this is not it. It needs to go back home to Greece, in my opinion.
What the other Americans think about this?
I think in the students in my class, I think everyone sees that they should be going back to Greece. I've never asked other people. I actually didn't know much about it until I took this Greek civilization class. And just to see the history, that it doesn't belong, one, here, and it doesn't belong in between these dark walls. They should be, or where they belong, in the museum in Athens, where there's a room waiting for them to go there, back to them.
You know a lot about Greece, but you don't speak Greek.
No.
But only one word.
One word. Opa!
Okay, thank you,
Thank you so
Fabiana.
much. Thank you.